I think we are in one of the most transformative periods in our lifetime and also one of the most transformative periods ever. And that's because of the advancements in AI. Because of this realization, I primarily trade stocks that are AI or AI adjacent. The very first trading day of the year had many breakouts from these leading sectors, and a lot of them were leading stocks as well. I'm going to go through all of these breakouts which occurred on the very first trading day of the year. Let's say I consider these the most winningest trades, the best trades that could have been on your radar. These won't be stocks that just made a big move, but they will be stocks that made a big move from a key level. I call those actionable breakouts. I believe those are always the winners of every day, stocks breaking out from key levels. So I guess we should define what a ideal purchase or an ideal breakout is. And maybe we could keep it to just three things. A breakout that occurs at the start of a swing. That's the first out of the three. We want breakouts that are happening at the beginning of their swing because that means we get the full meat of the move. Second is support. All the best breakouts happen from support levels. And finally, a volatility contraction. From contraction comes expansion, and looking for those tight areas is a massive edge. So let's just keep these as the three things, the three nuggets that we will look for to say, hey, this trade will most likely lead to what we can define as a possible A setup. Now, the first stock on the list today that broke out from a key level out of a volatility contraction and exhibiting the start of its swing is SNDK. SNDK is a leading stock from a leading group, from a leading sector, data storage, which is one of the major bottlenecks right now for AI storage. We also had MU, one of the big players, supporting this segment for consumers, said they were completely getting out of the consumer market and will entirely focus on selling to the big players, the large AI data centers, and companies like SNDK here, SanDisk. They're going to be huge winners for 2026. SNDK, I think, is top 5 stock for sure. We had support here with the rising 10-day, the rising 21-day as well. And we're also pulling back and we're breaking out at the start of this swing here, which is just beautiful. This purple line here is also a previous level of resistance, which has now turned into support. By the way, on the left side here, I have the weekly, and on the right side, I have the daily chart. Multi-time frame analysis is something that's extremely important, and it plays a factor in every trade that I look at. So SNDK is the first one on the list today, and next in line we have DNN. On the weekly, we have the rising 10-day. We have the, well, I should say 10-week. On the weekly, we have the rising 10-week, the rising 21-week moving average as well. And that's the case on the daily as well. We have the rising 10, 20, and 50-day. And we're coming out of a pullback, showing that we're initiating a buy at the start of the swing, getting in the beginning of the move, and even before the initial breakout over here, which could still be an entry because the move we can see here intraday still had plenty of room, but definitely we're looking to get in early around the 5-minute opening range breakout. But also a very beautiful trade. Let's look at the next one. ASTS, we have support on the weekly with the moving averages. We also have support on the daily chart with the 10, 20, and 50-day, and they're all rising. We do have a contraction in volatility here as we have this really tight inside inside candle, almost an inside day, but not quite if we look at the bottom. And then we get a push with an increase in volume. ASTS is part of the technology satellite space group and sector. And that's one of the major growing sectors that we're going to see coming up in the next few years. I believe SpaceX will be having their IPO relatively soon, and a lot of these space stocks will be repriced, and we're going to be seeing a lot of action in the space sector. So what you'll be seeing with ASTS and a lot of the other space stocks is just the beginning for now. You might have even heard that tech companies are now considering cooling their data centers in space. So it's getting very out of hand. So do expect a lot of big names popping up very soon. HUT is in the data processing. HUT is a Bitcoin miner turned data processing, and a lot of the Bitcoin mining companies have made that pivot lately, and it has been paying off very well for them. HUT is right near its 52-week high that we can see here, and we have support on the weekly chart with the rising moving averages. We also have a key level here that's visible on the weekly, so I will make this purple to show that it is visible on the weekly. We do get a pullback, a bit of some tightness here, and then we get the start of that swing. Coming out of the start of the swing is always a great place to get involved. One red flag though, the moving averages, they're kind of spaced out a bit. We definitely prefer to get the moving averages when it's a little bit tight, because usually what this could mean is that the name can often come back in to retrace when the moving averages are wide and loose. But we did get the breakout from this key level here, and when stocks break out from key levels, they generally tend to move for a little bit longer and a little bit stronger. And usually that always comes with an increase in volume, which we could see at the bottom here. We did get that increase, so it looks good. And next up is NXE. NXE is a uranium company, and uranium is one of the leading sectors right now as well. Yeah, it does have to do with AI in a lot of the ways. It's definitely AI adjacent, and many uranium companies have been absolutely killing it. And I think if we look at the group heat map, we can probably see that uranium is probably somewhere near the top. Yeah, so for the first trading day of the year, uranium has already taken the cake for the strongest sector. Let's look at what we have in 1 week. 1 week we have uranium, oil and gas drilling, third semiconductors, aluminum. Yeah, we could always expect semiconductors and data processing and a lot of these things to keep their spot at the top. So it's going to be a continuous theme, and you can see how we got the really nice pullback here and an inside day. Not only did we get the inside day, which shows us the contraction in volatility, we also had support from our three rising moving averages, the 10, 20, and the 50-day. As well as the rising moving averages on the weekly. The weekly confluence really gives juice to these setups, and not only that, if you take a look at the bottom, we also got that increase in volume. All in all, this is a really strong name. We can see that we're operating near all-time highs. Well, really at the bottom left here, it's really tiny, but it's a 3-month chart. Multi-time frame analysis is very important, so it's good to have a whole picture of what's going on the stock at all times, but it's much easier to focus on the weekly and the daily chart most of the time. Next up is SkyX. SkyX is a AI adjacent company, and they also gave us a really nice pullback, and the start of the swing is on the way, as we can see here on the right side. We almost got an inside day, not quite, but almost. And then we got a push. One red flag though, the volume increase was not as much as the previous day. So what could that mean? Maybe it could pull back in a day, maybe tomorrow. We'll see. Low volume breakouts usually mean that the move will not continue for very long. So we'll see what happens here. but a nice push nevertheless. But because of the low volume, this is probably a move where partials would have to be taken a little quicker. But tomorrow could be a very different story where you get a large amount of volume at the breakout level here, because we're coming out of this weekly level, this nice weekly level here, which just pushed right off with the moving averages. So if we get a breakout tomorrow with an increase in volume, that would also be really nice and could provide a second chance opportunity, but you wouldn't be getting in at the start of the swing at that point. So that would not be the pullback, but it would be the breakout. And it's totally fine to trade breakouts as well, but you definitely need a big increase in volume. Absolutely. A major volume is very important when dealing with breakout areas. Next on the list, we have URG. URG is also a uranium play. Let's lock this here. And it's quite beautiful as well because during the pullback, it gave us that inside day. It gave us the inside day, and it gave us the inside day right below a key weekly level. And in the morning, we have a gap up. Right here, we have a gap up after the inside day, right on that weekly key level, and then we get a little bit of an increase in volume, and we get the push again at the start of the swing, happening at the start of the swing. And all of these pullbacks and breakouts happened all on the first trading day of the year, and they're all out of key weekly levels as well. So these are very strong moves coming from weekly levels, and there are many of these all throughout the day to find. So there's almost never a reason to be taking a trade that doesn't have a strong weekly confluence. Here on CCJ, we sort of had the same thing again. These weekly levels, they create a lot of juice. So we have the 10-day, we have the 21. They're both rising. And then on the weekly, you have a pullback into the rising moving averages also on the daily chart, and you get an increase in volume as well. The increase in the volume is always a huge tell. And then you get a push right through this resistance, and it just keeps going. CCJ is part of the electrical theme, which again, a crazy bottleneck for AI that's really looking for expansion, and this industry is going to keep on growing. Unfortunately, just because of AI, a lot of us might end up seeing our electricity bills go higher. One of the disadvantages of AI, once they need something, it does get sucked out of the market, and electricity right now is one of those things. Next up is CSIQ, Canadian Solar, again, power and electricity. It's not AI per se, but it is AI adjacent, and solar is one of the things that is going to help power AI. We have a pullback here, and we have a almost inside day, but we do have that contraction and volatility, and that's what we're looking for: a pullback, a contraction and volatility, and then the start of the swing. Looking at on the weekly too, it looks very nice. It looks very tight, and look how it just surfs the 10-week moving averages. That's really beautiful. And then of course we get the breakout on the first trading day of the year with a little bit of an increase in volume. And leading stocks from leading sectors will usually provide these great opportunities to get in from these great areas. It still needs to get through this area over here and through this resistance levels as well. But look at the moving averages. They're still extremely tight. I wouldn't be surprised if this gives a second chance opportunity to get in. The moving averages are still so very tight, and there's probably still plenty of time to get into this name. Most likely we'll probably be seeing a pullback. With additional breakouts with volume, the weekly still looks extremely tight. It looks really good. We also have Reddit breaking out on the first trading day of the year, pulling back into this weekly key level. Let's see, let's take a look here. Yeah, look at this weekly key level. We had a resistance here. We came in and having a little bit of trouble, but we can clearly see that this is a major key level. And price pulled back on the daily chart and also on the rising moving averages. And we get this push with an increase in volume. So that looks pretty good. we don't know if it's going to continue or if it's going to go ahead and pull back in and give us another second chance opportunity. But that's the reason why we are looking at these names to track them and look at what they'll be doing. Are these sectors continuing when they break out, or are they pulling back in? ALAB is a semiconductor stock. I'm sure, as we all know now, semiconductors are one of the leading sectors in the market at the moment. And we do have a big pullback on the weekly in ALAB, which is lovely. It's always great to see things pulling back in strong sectors. That just means you have an opportunity to get in. And it pulls back, it comes into this key level, and it acts as support, and that's just beautiful. And then we can start to see the push up coming from the weekly with the support from the moving averages. And on the daily, we can also see the daily moving averages starting to act as support again, because it was kind of pushing down for quite some time. So we were in a bit of a downtrend. But we're now coming out of that downtrend and having support now with the moving averages. And we did break out here from this key level, so not looking too bad. We're quite some ways away from the all-time highs, so there'll definitely be more opportunities to get into this name. But this was a good entry day with an increase here with volume. Next, we have TER, also from the electrical sector, and we can see it pulling back into the moving averages here and then gapping up above this horizontal downtrend. Gap ups are usually a major key indicator of strength, especially when it happens coming out of a pullback with support from the moving averages. This was a great start of a swing breakout here. And on the weekly, we have the moving averages just, shooting higher. Which you can just see by the strong trend here, where we're higher lows, looking good. We sort of had VRT doing a bit of the same thing. A bit of a red flag on VRT, even though it did gap up, is that it's coming out of a red expansion candle, and we usually always want to be entering on a contraction in volatility. So that's the only red flag I will give this one. But we can see on the weekly we have support on the two moving averages, and we're gapping up above all three moving averages and this horizontal key level. What made this tradable was the major increase in volume and the gap up above all the moving averages and this little bit of resistance here. But ideally, the best trades are coming out of a contraction in volatility, not an expansion one. But not bad. We have an increase in volume with the beginning of a move up. But I wouldn't be surprised if we got a second chance opportunity with a pullback potentially into a key level. But we do have other levels here of resistance that we do need to watch for. So here's the list. It was a pretty decent list. SNDK looking really good. AI or AI adjacent. DNN, ASTS, space, also really big. Data processing, minerals and uranium, also major, so just think every time you enter a trade, is this AI or AI adjacent? If it's not, then I would highly consider putting your eggs in the best baskets. And what I will do is try to make more videos that keeps everyone on the right track in terms of what sector they need to be a part of, because just being in the right sector and the right time in the leading names is 75% of the work, because it's really hard to mess up once you're in the right sectors. So hey, stay tuned, and I'll have more videos coming soon.